It's 22 minutes to 8. Welcome back to Sunrise Daily. Well, yes, that's what we're focusing on today on Sunrise Daily Education. And that's just ahead of the 20th summit. That's in Nigeria Economic Summit. They'll be focusing on education. We're joined now by Professor Ngozi Osarenren, who is the former Commissioner of Education in Edo State and also a Professor of Counseling Psychology in the University of Lagos. Thank you for coming on this morning.
Thank you for having me.
You spoke a bit about the trainers here now, the teachers, the quality of all of those. Now, I was looking through some documents, where we got a lot of them. Some of our researchers getting these materials for us, and when you look at all of these policies, so many of them, but then you wonder, in spite of all this, the quality of those who are training the students, the future leaders, raises a lot of questions. And then you ask, so what is the disconnect in all of this? What's going on?
Thank you very much. There's actually a disconnect. I am one of those people that strongly believe we don't have problems with our policies.
Okay.
It's not a policy issue. It's implementation of those policies. And the political will to implement those policies to the letter, to adhere strictly to the letters of the policy, which unfortunately is highly politicized.
Wow.
Like I always tell people, education is the only area that every Nigerian is an expert. Everybody claims to be an expert in education. And because of that, those who are now in the vanguard of implementing education policies are not those that are knowledgeable about education. A lawyer, instead of going to court, is a commissioner for education. Is a minister for education. We are talking of disconnect. Does that lawyer understand that document, National Policy on Education? Does that lawyer and all the other experts, in quotes, and because we're a country that people have lost a sense of right and what is right and rightness. You see people, if they approach you, why can't you say no when you know you don't have the core competence? I talk about implementation. We have a situation, even in our universities, where some of the people that come to study education did not put in education as their first choice. But because you sitting here and those watching us will not want their children to study education, but when they are not able to make the cutoff point of the other courses they have chosen, and let him be in the university, let her be in the university, and the education faculty, in quotes, will now become a dumping ground. And you train that young man and young woman, investing so much in terms of knowledge, in terms of finance, and he or she does not go back to the school system. You see them going to the banks, going to the oil sector, going to the telecom sector. So you now end up having people who are unwilling cheaters because they're not teachers, they're not trained in the system. So until we start doing that which is right, until we start from the basic level, primary school, because most times people just look at the tertiary, the university. But if the foundation is not strong, you are not going to have a solid house. It is what comes from the foundation that will sustain what is on top of it. So at the primary level, some of the teachers are ad hoc teachers. And the children are not even interested because there are so much, in fact, for some of us, you see that at times you are in so much pain. It's not as if we all drop from the moon. It's because our consciences have been dulled by opulence in the society, by the reckless display of wealth, that people no longer have the core values that should sustain these situations.
You know, let's talk more on the teacher factor, especially in implementation of some of these policies.
The teacher factor is quite key. It's quite key, very key, because one, even if he or she has spent 3 years at the NCE level, which is the basic qualification to teach in a Nigerian school, but we know that in many of our schools, that basic qualification is not even there. And the people that are supposed to do the monitoring and inspecting the schools to ensure that that is done are not doing that. So even if the person has spent 3 years or spent 4 years and has been teaching, how regularly do they have upskill? When was the last time a proper training for a teacher in the school setting? Most teachers, the real training they have is the one they gained when they were in school. That is all.
Do you still have inspectors? Because I remember then in schools, a couple of times we had some inspectors.
We have inspectors, but inspectors in the strictest sense of inspection don't do what inspectors are supposed to do. They get to the school, get to the principal's office or the head teacher's office, and generally entertained. The inspector that is supposed to sit down in the class and watch the teacher teach and look at the teacher's lesson notes. Again, the issue of being inspectors is also politicized.
How?
It is who you like that you can appoint as an inspector.
What happened to these boards that we used to have, the post-primary school management, all those boards that used to go around?
No, those boards are there. Those boards are there, but you remember again that it is usually the chairman is a compensation from political electioneering.
Wow.
The chairman of the post-primary school board or the chairman of the SUBEB board, State Universal Basic Education Board, 99.9% of the time are politicians appointed.
And they do not have any interest in the education of the future of the state.
No, they have interest because that is where you be and you make a lot of money.